Keep yourself in the loop of everything football. Listen to Alex and Jeremiah on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello there, I'm Jeremiah.
I am Alex, always and forever here.
Dedicated to college and NFL football. The latest football news on and off the field. NFL draft trade rumors. We've got you covered from the NFL, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything else in between. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we talk the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football, from the latest signings to this year's breakout stars and all the news in between. As always, I am Alex. Jeremiah is gone for the week. It is Thanksgiving week, of course. It is Monday, the 21st of November, so that means Thursday is go time, turkey time, I like to call it. It is Thanksgiving Day, so we have a good stock day of football there. But Jeremiah's not here this week, so it'll be me today. Anthony will be here tomorrow and Wednesday, and of course, maybe we'll even have Ben join us on Wednesday. But as it stands right now, we're going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're not here Thursday, Friday. So that means today and tomorrow we're going to preview we're going to preview Monday night tonight and recap Sunday night games and Sunday games. Tomorrow we're going to recap tonight's game, talk college football, see what that looks like. Wednesday we are going to tell you what the new poll in the college football playoff rankings looks like. And then we are going to preview Thursday and weekend games. As it stands, there are 3 Thursday games, of course. And then we have the whole slate of weekend games, which we'll mention and talk about as well. But first, today, we are going to talk Sunday football from the morning, the afternoon, and last night's Sunday night game. We will talk that. We will talk a little bit college football, see what the poll looks like for the AP. As of right now, a little different, of course, than the college football playoff poll. But we will look at some big games from this weekend that occurred. And we will preview tonight's Monday night game between the Texans and the Raiders. So let's start with Sunday's slate of games, and we will start in the AFC North, and that was a Steelers-Browns matchup in which the Steelers took that one 24-9 over Cleveland. The Browns still winless as it stands, dropping to 0-11 on the year. Steelers moving to 5-5 and a tie with the Ravens for first place. The tiebreaker goes to the Ravens with the head-to-head victory. Le'Veon Bell, 146 yards on the ground and one score, totaling 200 yards of total offense for them. The Steelers are the defensive score late in the game, a strip sack fumble, and a touchdown from Javon Hargrave. Third-round pick out of South Carolina State for the Steelers this year. They notched only their second interception by a DB this year. The first-round pick of this year from Miami, the U, Artie Burns. So they did get some defensive plays that really helped this game move forward for them. They go on to play this Thanksgiving, as a matter of fact, against the Colts. That is the game on nighttime, on 5:30. At 5:30 on night during the night after everybody's dinner, everybody's ready to lay down and watch some football. That is their game. So they move on to play them. The Browns, of course, don't win, and they're still winless for the year, dropping to 0-11. They are heading to play the Giants this weekend, I should say. Moving on, the Cowboys, who the Steelers played last week, and the Ravens, whom the Steelers played the week before that, played this weekend. And the Cowboys won this one 27-17 on the back of Dak Prescott's 301 yards passing and 3 scores, 2 of which to Dez Bryant, 97 yards for Ezekiel Elliott. Pretty good day for them offensively. They got some stops when they needed to. The Ravens played okay. Steve Smith, 8 receptions for 99 yards and a score. They just couldn't keep pace with this Cowboys team. The Cowboys moved to 9-1 on the year, number 1 seed in the division, and the Ravens dropped to 5-5, and like I said, a 2-way tie with the tiebreaker going to them in the AFC North. Moving to the NFC North, and the Lions, who are now top of that division, win another game by 1 score and win it by trailing in the fourth. There, they win this one 26-19 over the Jaguars. The Jaguars dropped 2-8 on the year. The Lions now move to 6-4. Matthew Stafford, 278 for him in passing. The leading rusher and receiver for the Jaguars was Chris Ivory, and not a good sense either. 39 rushing yards, from Chris Ivory for the Jaguars, on top of 75 yards receiving for the team. But not much better running yards for the Lions. Their rushing total came out to 21 carries, for 14 yards. Not very good at all. It looks like they gave up on the running game pretty quickly there. Stafford did throw the ball 33 times. They moved to 6-4 on the year, and they are 4-1 at home as it stands. And like I said, they are in first place currently of the NFC North, and they are playing the Vikings on Thursday on Thanksgiving, as the Lions always do, in hopes of taking by full grasp of the NFC North as it stands. The Titans and the Colts in an AFC South matchup. The Colts win this one over the Titans 24-17 to move to 5-5 on the year. The Titans dropped to 5-6. Marcus Mariota did a lot of good things in this game, 290 yards and 2 scores. Andrew Luck, 262 yards and 2 scores. Now, the Colts jumped out to a 21-point lead at halftime, 21-7, and kind of held on for dear life for the rest of the game, winning this one narrowly at the very end of it, like I said, by 1 score. Not much of a running game for them in that sense. 50 yards from Frank Gore as their leading rusher. 97 yards on the team total for the Tennessee Titans. DeMarco Murray, 21 for 70. As it stood, not a great day for him, but one thing you hold your hat on, Rashard Matthews, young receiver there for the Titans. 122 yards on 9 receptions as it stands. Tajay Sharp added a touchdown as well, so a lot of young playmakers doing things for the Titans there. DeMarco Murray adding a touchdown out of the backfield. That is one of the 2 in which Marcus Mariota threw, and again, no interceptions, but he did take 5 sacks for minus 36 yards, and that's not good when you need to win games, playing from behind especially. The Bengals and the Bills played in a game that's going to be looked at as one of the tougher games for the Bengals all year, and that is not for the reason why you would think. Now, they lost this game 16-12 to the Bills, who moved to 5-5. The Bengals dropped to 3-6-1, but as it stands this morning, the Bengals are looking at life the rest of this year without star receiver A.J. Green and change of pace back, Giovanni Bernard. The first or second play, third play, something like that, was the very first series of the game. A.J. Green tore his hamstring, and even in the position where he could come back, I say they're 3-6-1 as it stands. I would personally keep him out. You know, they are not out of the division by any means, but that is a tough loss, and you don't want to rush him back by any means. They did have a decent fill-in job from Tyler Boyd there, rookie for them, 54 yards and a touchdown, but you cannot replace A.J. Green. Andy Dalton did his best, 207 yards and a score. That score going to Boyd, but they did fall short there to the Bills. The Buccaneers defeat the Chiefs for only the third time this year. The Chiefs lose, and it's the first time in a few games, as a matter of fact. Chiefs dropping to 7-3 on the year. Buccaneers moving to 5-5. 19-17 in favor of Tampa Bay there. Jameis Winston, 331 yards and a score. Travis Kelce coming off a game in which he was thrown out of the game quite early for 108 yards on 7 receptions. Leading rusher in this game was Spencer Ware with 69 yards. Now with the Chiefs losing, moving to 7-3, the Raiders going into tonight's game on Monday night, which I will preview in a little while. They now have sole possession of the AFC West title as they had shared a record with the Chiefs, and the Chiefs had the tiebreaker there. The Raiders now have sole possession of that heading into tonight's game, and they do obviously control their own destiny in that sense as well. We'll move on to the next game. Excuse me. The next game in the list of games, and that is the Bears and the Giants game. The Giants won this one 22-16 to keep pace in a sense with the Cowboys, who are just running away with this division in a sense, only losing one game to those Giants. 7-3 for the Giants, winning 22-16 over the Bears. 2-8 for the Bears. They are still winless on the road. Just bad for them. Rashad Jennings, 85 yards and a score for them. Zach Miller for the Bears, 3 receptions for 61 yards and a score, but it does look like he will miss the rest of the season after getting injured in this game. And Jay Cutler was the leading passer, did a lot of good in this game, but not enough to unseat the Giants, who did win this one, of course. The Vikings and the Cardinals played a very close game, 30-24 in favor of Minnesota, getting their first win since starting so hot 5-0 and going on their bye week and losing 4 straight. They beat the Cardinals 30-24. The Cardinals dropped to 4-5 on the year. Now, I think most teams would win it when they have 2 100-yard plays in one game. There was a 100-yard pick six by Xavier Rhodes of Carson Palmer in this one, and a 100-yard plus kick return from Cordero Patterson in this one, being the first time a team had 2 100-yard plus plays in the same game since I want to say around 2009 when Joshua Cribbs had 2 100-yard plus kickoff returns. Big win for the Vikings in which they needed again because they keep pace with the Lions and they play for sole possession of the NFC North title, at least first place, this Thursday on Thanksgiving, of course. Now both teams being 6-4. The last of the afternoon games was the Cardinals and Vikings game to finish, so we move to the afternoon games, and that is headlined by the Rams and Dolphins as the first starter. The Dolphins win this one 14-10 after trailing the entire game in a game in which it was Jared Goff's first start. Now, it is tough for me to really look at this game and be able to take a lot of pluses and minuses away from a game that was just covered in torrential downpour the entire time. Jared Goff did good and he did bad. He did take a sack, but at the same time, it was only one sack for a loss of 8 yards. The rest of the game, I was very impressed in the way he got out of the pocket, extended plays. He did make a nice third down after getting out of the pocket, running to his left, throwing across his body. It was very impressive to me, but at the same time, he did a lot of getting out of the pocket just to keep plays alive and not get negative yards. He did one time he took the sack a little too long. He should have thrown the ball away when he had the chance, but he did a lot of good in this game. Now, he did not throw a touchdown, but he did not throw any interceptions. He put them in a position to win this game. They were up 10-0 late in the game, and the defense gave up 2 touchdowns to the Dolphins, 2 touchdown passes from Ryan Tannehill to go down 14-10 with about 37 seconds left. And they said, here, kid, you got 1 timeout. Go score us a touchdown. We can't. No field goal. We need to score a touchdown. And, it was just a lot for somebody's first start. So, unfortunately, Jared Goff was another quarterback on the list of first overall picks to not win their first start at quarterback. But a lot of promise I saw in that game, and hopefully they can progress from there. Now, one of the bigger games as well in terms of teams in the second half of the day games in the afternoon was the Patriots-Niners, winning this one, obviously, for the Gillette Patriots, 30-17. New England moves to 8-2, and they are still undefeated on the road. This game over at Levi Stadium, another game full of rain. The Niners dropped to 1-9 on the year. Tough year for them. Tom Brady, 280 and 4 scores. LeGarrette Blount, 124 yards. Malcolm Mitchell, 4 receptions for 98, a lot of which came on one long play for a touchdown, his first touchdown of his career. Most people assumed this would be a win for the Patriots in a game in which Tom Brady, for the first time in his career, played in his hometown, in a sense. He's from not far from Santa Clara, as well as Julian Edelman, both of them doing this so for the first time. So nice for them to get a win there as well. We look at the Seahawks and the Eagles, and this is the last of the afternoon games to finish. The Seahawks win this one 26-15 over the Eagles, who dropped to 5-5 after also a nice start before their bye week. The Seahawks moved to 7-2-1 on the year. Russell Wilson, 272 yards passing and a touchdown receiving. Doug Baldwin, 104 yards. No touchdowns receiving, but 1 passing. And TJ Procise, before getting injured in this game, unfortunately, he did tally 4 carries for 76 yards, much of which came on 1 play, a long touchdown run. Now, the Seahawks, like I said, moved to 7-2-1, and they are very much putting a hold on the division. In the NFC West, the next team behind them, I do believe, is the Cardinals, and they did drop a game this weekend. So they are pretty much in the driver's seat in this one. The Eagles, on the other hand, you have the Cowboys and the Giants who are playing very well. The Eagles are kind of now in the outside looking in. Last game of the day, and that is the night game, the Sunday night game between the Redskins and the Packers. The Redskins win this one big, 42-24 over Green Bay, 375 yards passing and 3 scores from Kirk Cousins. Robert Kelly, running back for the Redskins, had 24 carries for 137 yards and 3 scores, 3 from each of their running back and quarterback duo there. Pierre Garçon adding 116 yards and 1 of those receptions for a touchdown from Kirk Cousins on 6 receptions total. Pretty good day for him. The thing with the Packers is Rodgers played very well, but this defense is just struggling. It really is. And, it makes a lot of sense when your top 3 corners are out, but the unfortunate side of it is you can score as many points as you can. When other teams are scoring more, it's hard really to keep up that pace, and that is the most difficult thing I think there is to do, is when you can score points but you can't stop the other team, and then it's really just who stops who. As it stands right now, Jacob Tamme is probably done for the year. He's being placed on IR following season-ending shoulder surgery. As we mentioned, A.J. Green and Giovanni Bernard likely out for the year. Luke Kuechly out this Sunday, most likely because of the concussion he suffered on Thursday. He is traveling to Pittsburgh to see a specialist and remains a possibility maybe for Sunday, but it looks like he might be out. And as it stands right now, the Panthers still have their starting center out as well. So a couple of injuries to go and cover there. We're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of college football and what the AP poll looks like, and some games that happened this weekend that were significant in their wins and losses. So we will do that, and we will do that right after the break here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. And real quick, as it stands, I wanted to update you on the playoff standings. If the NFL was to see the regular season was to end today, this is what it would look like. So the 1 and 2 bye week teams, the seeds would be the New England Patriots at the 1 and the Oakland Raiders at the 2, and they would get their byes. The division wildcard teams would be the Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens at the 3 and the 4, and the 2 wildcard teams being the 2 other AFC West teams that are very much so in contention. The number 5 Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos at number 6. And then the first 2 teams out would be Miami and Pittsburgh. And then we look at the National Football Conference, the NFC. We have the 1 and 2 being very obvious. The Cowboys in the 1 and the Seahawks in the 2 in their bye weeks. The 3 and the 4 would be Detroit and Atlanta. And we would have the Redskins and the Giants. So as it would stand, the first game would be Redskins and Lions and the Falcons and Giants. And then we would have the Texans and the Denver Broncos in a Brock Osweiler homecoming game, in which we already saw go wrong for him earlier this year. And Joe Flacco and the Ravens taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. That would be what it would look like if the season ended today. Now let's move to college football. Now, we had a decently solid week in college football this weekend, as we have had a lot of this week already. Excuse me. Probably no turnover in the in what we're looking at here in the polls tomorrow in the college football playoff rankings, but we'll go through some significant teams and their games this weekend. Ohio State very narrowly won against Michigan State 17-16 thanks to a late interception in this game, moving to 10-1 on the year. Of course, their only loss being to Penn State. Michigan State did play very valiantly, but fall in a close one here. Alabama obviously handled Chattanooga very handily, 31-30. Michigan beat Indiana 20-10 in a game a lot of people thought probably would be a little higher scoring for Michigan, but 20-10 in favor of Michigan on this one, moving to 10-1 as well on the year. We had Penn State rolling Rutgers 39-0. Oklahoma again on a nice long tear here. They've been playing very strong as of late. 56-28 over West Virginia. The number 10 team in the nation, Colorado, defeats a ranked team for the first time in over a decade, defeating Washington State 38-24 in a close game there. Oklahoma just rolled TCU 31-6. Oregon beats Utah 30-28 in a big win for Oregon, probably their biggest win of the year, moving them to 4-7 on the year. Utah dropping to 8-3. USC defeats UCLA 36-14. Auburn in a close one against Alabama A&M 55-0. Florida, in a sense, upsets LSU, who was 16. Florida was 23 at the time. 16-10 in favor of the Gators. Big win there for the Gators squad. And we had another big win for Tennessee, 63-37 over Missouri. Western Michigan continues their winning ways as the only other undefeated team of the year. Behind Alabama. Stanford beats Cal 45-31, and Texas A&M beats Texas San Antonio 23-10. Now, it's not as significant, obviously, as the playoff rankings, but we do have the AP poll that is out, and as it stands right now, because Louisville lost on Thursday, they dropped all the way to 11 on that poll. So the way this shapes out is Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson in the top 4. You have Wisconsin, Washington, Oklahoma at 7, Penn State at 8, Colorado at 9, and Oklahoma State at 10. Louisville dropped 8 spots to 11 in this poll as it stands. USC up 3 to 12. Florida 13th. Colorado all the way up to 9 from their 11th, or their 12th spot there, moving up big there. Now, again, this doesn't matter as much as the playoff poll, but the playoff poll won't come out until tomorrow. As it stands, the top 4 in the AP poll, like I said, Bama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson. In the playoff poll, it is Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson. So the big change is going to be Louisville, who is at the 5th spot. They, of course, lost. They lost to Houston 36-10. So there's going to be some change there. They're going to drop. I don't know how far, but they're going to drop. The question is going to be who's going to be that 5 and 6 team now. Is it going to be Wisconsin, Washington? Is it going to be Washington, Wisconsin? Penn State's going to move up most certainly to the 7th spot, just outside the first 2 teams out. They're going to put a lot of stake in trying to get into the playoffs late here, as well as the Oklahoma team there, coming off a big win against Virginia as well. So it's going to be a big look at this week, how this thing, really shapes out. We have Ohio State playing against Michigan, this week. That's a big matchup. Ohio State playing Michigan, that obviously is going to open up a spot in the top 5 in a sense, depending on how far somebody drops. Washington's playing Washington State in a game that will decide the Pac-12 North defendant, for the Pac-12 championship game. We have Penn State playing Michigan State, who showed that they could very much stay in a fight with Ohio State this weekend. Alabama's playing Auburn, and that's always a tough game, the Iron Bowl. I imagine Alabama's going to win, but you can't say for sure what exactly is going to happen. Wisconsin and Clemson are probably in the strongest position. Clemson's playing South Carolina, and Wisconsin's playing Minnesota. Oklahoma literally can do nothing this week and benefit in a sense because they don't have a game. So there's a lot that can happen this week, and it's going to be really wacky in that sense as to what might happen. I'm looking forward to a very strong college football week as it stands. A lot of good matchups. Obviously, you have the 2 and the 3 playing one another. It's going to be the highest seed in which they play each other in a long time since they were 1 and 2, I believe, back a decade or so ago. You have a good matchup between Alabama and Auburn. Like I said, 2 ranked teams. Washington and Washington State both ranked. Utah is playing Colorado this week. A good matchup between the 9 and the 21, even though Utah did just lose, unfortunately. Lots of good matchups. USC is playing Notre Dame this week. Florida and Florida State. It's going to be a good week. College football has given us a lot of good this weekend. This weekend and this year in general. It really has. We still have we have a team like Western Michigan who's undefeated still. You have a team like Utah who's in the top 25. You have Colorado all the way up at 9 in the AP poll. Washington State playing great football. If they would have won this past week against Colorado, they could have been in the teens probably. They dropped to 23 in this ranking, but we'll see again where they sit in the college football playoff poll. But this has just been a great year for college football, and I think this is going to be a big weekend for college football as well, following Thanksgiving and Black Friday. So a lot of games on Friday, a lot of games on Saturday as well to look out for. Of course, the Apple Cup usually is always on Black Friday. So, of course, that one is this Friday, but most games, of course, taking place on Saturday. We do have a few games, though, especially in the top 25, taking place on Friday. Now, tomorrow, Anthony and I will do our best to preview and predict what the college football playoff rankings will look like. They do come out tomorrow. Of course, not a lot's really going to happen at the top other than Louisville dropping and a lot of people moving up and around. So this is not the week to look for a lot of difference the following week. Not this, but next. Heading into the championship weekends, that is going to be a big week in terms of movement in the top. All right, let's take our last break. We're going to come back. We're going to preview tonight's Monday Night Football game between the Raiders and the Texans in just a moment at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
And we are back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, and it is time to preview tonight's Monday Night Football game. Before we get going today, we have Texans-Raiders, and not only is it Texans-Raiders, it is a game that is taking place in Mexico City at Estadio Azteca in Mexico City, part of the NFL's international series, of course, with their games over in England, in London, and they've had games in Canada, of course, as well. But we have one in Mexico City for the first time since about 2005, in which the Oakland Raiders will be the home team, the Houston Texans being the visitors team, in a matchup of two division leaders, the Houston Texans 6-3, the Oakland Raiders 7-2, and sole owners of the first spot in the AFC West. We come into this one, some injuries to look at, two for sure outs. We have Jonathan Grimes, he's a running back, and Alfred Blue, both running backs for the Texans, are out. Vince Wilfork, of course, everybody knows Vince Wilfork. He is questionable, as well as starting fullback Jay Proche. And Will Fuller, the rookie, is questionable going into this one as well, but it does look like he might be playing. Now we look at the Raiders, and we just have a list of questionables. Amari Cooper, Latavius Murray, Sean Smith, all questionable. Looks like they probably will play. Rodney Hudson, center, questionable as well. More than likely he's going to play in this one. And then we have Stacey McGee at D-tackle. He is questionable. As it stands, the Raiders are averaging 27 points a game to the Texans' 17. They are doing a very good job at scoring. They are currently, as it stands, on a 4 out of 5 game win-to-loss ratio. They beat the Denver Broncos last game. They had their bye week, and in the end of October, they defeated Tampa Bay in a long overtime game, defeated Jacksonville the week prior. They did lose, unfortunately, to Kansas City, but the week before that, by a field goal, they defeated San Diego. Now we look at the Texans, and they have won 3 of their last 5, most recently against the Jacksonville Jaguars last week, by a field goal, by 7 points to Detroit the week before that. They did lose big against Denver. They won in overtime against Indianapolis a few weeks ago, I believe, on Monday Night Football, and lost to Minnesota the week before that on the 9th of October, 31-13 big. Now, the problem for them is they are only averaging about 210 yards passing a game. Last game, Brock Osweiler did not break 100. He had 99 yards passing. The running game is not doing great. It's not helping them out as much in the last few weeks. Now, on the other hand, the Raiders, we have the highest total passing of the year. I do believe belongs to Mr. Derek Carr. Their running game last week the week before was insanely good on Sunday Night Football. They're averaging about 114 yards a game, but that doesn't mean that they aren't. 127 yards a game, but doesn't mean they aren't kicking it into gear. Now 210 was actually what they're allowing passing for the Texans. They are actually only averaging 202 yards passing. Not good. Again, Brock Osweiler's not having an amazing year. 11 touchdowns and 9 picks. He hasn't broken 2,000 yards yet. And he really is not living up to the contract they gave him. Derek Carr is playing like an MVP so far this year. He has 2,505 yards, 17 scores, totaling 3 interceptions. Their leading rusher, Latavius Murray, leading receiver, Amari Cooper. Latavius Murray, 393, and 8 touchdowns to Lamar Miller, 720, but only 2 touchdowns on the ground. Amari Cooper, 843 yards and 2 scores for the second-year player out of Alabama. DeAndre Hopkins, the leading receiver for the Texans. But the problem is, can they get the ball to him? The Raiders, of course, are favored in this one, but how they have been playing the last few weeks, they are 7-2 for the first time in a long time. We're more used to them being in this point of the season at 2-7, and it's refreshing to see. I always tell Jeremiah the old saying: when the Raiders are good, the NFL is better. Especially when those older franchises are good. The Cowboys, the Steelers, the Raiders, the Patriots, in a sense, even though they're always good. The Packers, the Chiefs. The teams that have been around the NFL for a while, the Niners, when they're good, the NFL is more entertaining because those franchises have bigger fan bases. And the Raiders have one of the most diehard fan bases, in all of the NFL. And we're, I think, going to see that big time here tonight in a Mexico Stadium matchup. So I'm going to give this one to the Raiders. I think they have more strong aspects across all of their team as opposed to the Texans mainly having a strong defense and kind of a unsteady, unfortunate offense. So I'm going to give this one to the Raiders. I see them moving 8-2 on the year. Unbelievably 8-2, that is. an amazing start for a team that was 7-9 last year. And I see the Texans dropping to 6-4 on this one. And that's just how I think the cookie crumbles. And of course, tomorrow Anthony and I will talk about what it looks like after this game, all the dust settles, in Mexico City. And we will recap this game and, of course, talk all the news I told you we will as well in relation to college football. And anything and everything you think and we think is relevant in the moment. But until then, it is time to go. We take our 24-hour break, and we'll be back tomorrow morning to discuss all the wonderful things in the world of football. For Jeremiah, since he is out all week, in which I will tell you that every day. For Jeremiah, I am Alex. For Anthony, I am Alex. We'll see you guys tomorrow. You enjoy Monday Night Football. You enjoy the rest of your day, and we will talk then. You guys, see you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.